So my name is Gyapay, and I'm a Master of Science student in Public Health at the University of Waterloo. And my research focuses on looking at connections between the environment and health. So I'm really interested in understanding connections between climate change and impacts on northern food systems here in the Northwest Territories. So what I do is I collaborate with scientists from across Canada. So I'm always working as part of a larger team with other scientists as well as community members. As a researcher, I'm also an author, so I do a lot of writing to be able to share my findings, which is usually in scholarly articles, but that can also be in poster format and doing oral presentations and talks. So I've always been really curious and have loved science and have always been really interested in having, learning more and continuing to teach myself more. But it really wasn't until university that I started learning what research is and then really getting involved in different research projects, designing my own research studies, and participating in other people's research projects that really sparked my interest in getting more involved in research and also pursuing research as a career. In terms of the topic, so specifically around like climate change and nutrition and northern food systems and Indigenous communities, I've always loved nature and being outside, but it really wasn't until high school that I started participating in on-the-land camps. So for example, like the Tundra Science Camp and really like other amazing programs through school that I was able to spend time outside. And that's when I was really learning about climate change and impacts of climate change on the Northwest Territories and on ecosystems. My favorite thing is that I'm able to ask questions and be able to answer some of these questions that I have. And what makes it so much fun and really rewarding and meaningful is that when I'm asking these questions and answering these questions, I'm collaborating with communities. And that's the most important part of research, is that it's creating meaningful change in a respectful and collaborative way. One of my favorite books that I would recommend is actually by a local author, so Nicole Redvers, so The Science of the Sacred by Nicole Redvers. And this is a really amazing book to understand both Indigenous and Western science. And that really matches well with my research and what I do. Written really well that anyone can understand, like you don't have to have a background or knowledge in science at all to be able to understand it, so I really enjoyed it. So there's a book that actually, I know you're interviewing Bruce Green, so he gave me a book when I was just starting out as an undergraduate student, and it's called Letters to a Young Scientist by E.O. Wilson, and that's a really great book for anyone who's young and really interested in starting a career or starting studies in science. And it's definitely a good collection of words of wisdom and some advice. I also have a podcast actually, which it's not a book, but I think that still counts. Okay, so it's called Handpicked, and it's a podcast by the Laurier Center for Sustainable Food Systems. It's also scientists that I collaborate with who are part of the podcast, and also you'll probably recognize there's a lot of people from the Northwest Territories that are also a part of those interviews. And then actually for a children's book, which is really fun, my favorite type, I love picture books, is A Walk on the Tundra by Rebecca Haynew. So that's a really amazing book that describes plants and certain uses traditional uses for plants in the Arctic in the Northwest Territories. That's also a really cute book. And I think that's it. That's it.
That's great. That's so cool.
Happy National Science Literacy Week.